Coen, offense coordinator from Kentucky, here with Will Levis, quarterback here at Kentucky as well. Would love to thank the Citrus Bowl for having us down here. It's an unbelievable experience so far. Great opportunity for our players to come down and play a very quality opponent in Iowa, specifically speaking on the defensive side of the ball. And love to thank the University of Kentucky for promoting us and having us in this bowl game. It's a big-time game for us, and super excited to be here. So this is a great opportunity for us as coaches, as staff, and players to be down here at a great venue, have a great time, and play in a big-time game. So open it up for any questions now.
Hey, Will, I know you've faced this Iowa team previously. How are they similar? How are they different? And how have you changed since that game?
Pretty similar, honestly. I think their tendencies and the first thing that sticks out to you when you watch their film is just how disciplined and how consistent they are with their techniques and their coverage discipline, and little things from when they play certain coverages and certain down and distances have changed a little bit, but the same coverages that you've seen in the past with them are the same stuff that you're going to see this year and what we expect to see as well. And that doesn't necessarily make it easy at all. It's because, like I said, they're disciplined, and even though you might know what you're going to get on a certain coverage, it's something that it's a defense that it takes a disciplined offense to combat that. So we need to make sure we go out there and play cleanly, and as long as we do that, I think we should be able to do some good stuff.
Coach, the quarterback and your top receiver familiar to Iowa. How do you weave people like that together who've been, in other programs, learned other things, focused on other things, and make it work so fast?
When you have quality kids in the program already, I think that's a big time advantage when you do bring players in from other organizations, other programs, specifically speaking from the transfer portal. When you already have a strong culture and strong players within the program, I think it's easy for you to bring in quality kids and good players into the program, and they mesh very well with the guys that are already there. We brought in some guys from the portal, but they were of the utmost respect in terms of on the field, off the field, in the classroom, socially, doing all the right things. Speaking of specifically on the offensive side of the ball, Will and Wandell, and then Dare Rosenthal as well up front for us. So being able to mesh it really wasn't that difficult because of the guys in the program were yearning for a leader like Will, a playmaker like Wandell. And I think that was something that we needed, that the program needed, and ended up working out pretty well.
Yeah, Liam, I'm curious, from day one until now, what ways has Will improved the most, and how has he made you a better coach, you think?
From the improvement standpoint, that's what we always talk about with Will, is every single day of practice is him getting another rep at being a full-time quarterback. Every single 7-on, every single blitz period, every single team period is an opportunity to get better, because it's still learning how to play the position, because he wasn't used to play this position in years past. And that's why I just think that the ceiling is so high for him to be able to play at a high level and continue to push himself to get better and better. He's not going to just continue to take practice reps to take reps. He tries to practice to get better every single day. That's what's fun to coach him. That's what's a challenge to coach him, is that you better be on your stuff. You better be ready to go as a coach. And when you don't, you can tell he gets bored. And that's something that, it's on me as a coach and us as coaches to challenge him daily, both mentally and physically with some things. And that's going to be a big time emphasis for us this spring, is continuing to challenge him both mentally and physically to get better. But he definitely raises the standard in the room, in the offense, and as a coach.
Yeah, this question's for Will. And in some ways, from a distant point of view, Wandale kind of reminds me a little bit of one of your other former teammates, KJ Hamler. In what ways maybe are they similar? And then what does Wandale mean to this offense? Because he's really seems to have taken off the last couple from what he was a couple of years ago.
Well, they have the same number, so that's the one thing that's similar. But no. When I started working out with Wandell, I instantly kind of made that connection. Obviously, like they're on the shorter side, so like that's a connection. They play kind of similar slot position, but they're both very instinctive players and football smart. And you talk to Wandell, he'll tell you a lot of things about not only the receiver position but football in general that the average fan will not know and the average player will not know. And he just kind of gets it. It's like he's something that you got to work for, but it's also natural ability and natural instinct, I think. And he's able to take a certain route, the teachings from a route, go into a practice versus a coverage versus that we haven't even talked about, and understand what's going to make it work as best as possible. And that's something that is hard to find in a receiver or in a player in general. So, I mean, obviously he's got the playmaking ability, he's got the agility, he's got the speed, and he's got just someone who I can trust throwing the ball to all around. So great player to have. And KJ, I played a little bit with him when I was there, but definitely very similar. And I think that just as KJ's had success at the next level, I think Wandell can too.
When I was here talking about the running game, they mentioned the running game a couple of times. For both of you, when you first saw Chris Rodriguez, what were your initial thoughts? And now that you've been with him for the last 6-7 months?
Yeah, to speak to when I first got to know Chris in the spring, I mean, he was coming off a little bit of an injury, so we didn't see him all that much in spring practice. We had him practice, but we didn't really see him live. I didn't see him live all the way through, till training camp. I'm not even sure we did too much live, so you don't get a full feel for Chris until you truly go live and people need to tackle him. That's been the thing that has been probably the most impressive since getting around Chris is once you get him going, he's just rarely going to lose yards. And, I think that seeing something, he leads the country, I think, in like 4-yard carries over the season. That's efficient. He's an efficient runner. He's difficult to take down. And that's part of this, the big part of this offense is being able to run the ball efficiently, being in, manageable third down situations, which has helped us throughout the season, and, keeping people off balance with the quarterback run game as well. So I think it all ties in together, but he's been a special player for us this season. I think Will can continue on.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely unique in just his style of running. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to always make someone miss at the next level, but he's always going to fall forward. It's very rarely you see him get tackled by the first guy that makes contact with him. And like Coach said, it kind of took until that first live scrimmage or the first game really to even see what he's really capable of and what makes him so special as a player. I mean, he's been a key player in this offense for a few years now for a reason. And he's a great kid and a great teammate and just someone that we're really lucky to have on the team.
Will, you said often that you don't think the offense has played this best game yet. For both of you, what does that look like, and how do you get there? How do you play that complete game?
I mean, I don't think there is ever going to be a point when we think we'll reach our full potential, because I think there's always room for growth. I mean, personally, for me as a quarterback, kind of going back to your first question, what I've improved in most is just the comfort aspect of the position. Like Coach said, that really just comes with reps, and that really comes with seeing different looks in a variety of different ways. And the more looks you see and the more reps you get, the more comfortable you're going to be. So I think as long as it's the end of this year, or for as long as I play this game, I'm always going to be striving to get better and better and better physically, mentally, what have you. But yeah, I mean, I think our best game is kind of a sum of what our offense has done all season, which is being able to run the ball effectively and throw the ball effectively on average throughout the board. We haven't done both necessarily extremely well in many games, but I think we've averaged something like 200 plus pass, 200 plus run throughout the season this year. So I think like playing at our best, assuming that the defense we're playing allows us to do both, is having just that good balance of run and pass. And we look to do that every week and be prepared to do well in each of those areas each week.
Last call for Will Coen.
Coach Soups obviously has a lot of Iowa connections. Have you been hearing him talk about that? And is there any extra added motivation to give him a win against his alma mater?
I haven't heard anything honestly from him. Obviously, he likes to win whoever we're playing, but personally, I mean, I think he'd tell you that it does fire him up a little bit, but he hasn't made that a storyline in the locker room or anything this week or this past month at all, really.
He's spoken of great respect, for the program, for Coach Ferentz and for what they've done there, and it's more just like a respect thing. I think a mutual competitive respect for the game, for how they play the game, for how they're coached. That's some of the things that he's emphasized to our players and to our staff about just respecting the game, respecting your opponent. He says that every week, but specifically these guys because of the way they're coached and the way they play.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about your offensive line.
Yeah.
We haven't asked, and it seems pretty dominant on film, one of the best in the country. What's helped take it from being a good line to a great line this year?
I think that it really started with Coach Schlarman and how these guys have been coached, prior to being, to our arrival. I mean, these guys were very well coached. They had a sense of pride in the room for years. And when I arrived, that was the first thing that kind of stood out to me was just the demeanor in that room, in the offensive line room. And I think that was instilled in those guys from years past. But I think that this year, just adding a little bit of different variety in the run game has helped our players have success, I think, up front, and also just the leadership that we had up front with Luke Fortner, Darian Kennard, Horsey, all those guys that have played a lot of snaps have been able to step up and continue to play a lot of snaps and stay healthy for us this year for the most part. So we go as they go. When we break the huddle, that's exactly what we want the defense to see first. And they've been unbelievable for us this year.
Yeah, I think too, like just with like you said, the diversification of like the schemes that we've been running compared to what they've ran in the past, bringing new offense to a line that's pretty experienced and are used to running certain concepts. It kind of took a few games for us to kind of find our true identity and like what our bread and butter is in terms of what schemes work for our best for our offensive line. And I think Coach did a really, really good job of seeing what necessarily we would like to work but isn't working well. We don't really want to change things mid-season, and what is working and what we want to build on from that kind of midpoint on the season on, which I think we've done a really good job on in the second half of the year. So we know what we're good at, and we try sticking to that. But we're good at a lot of stuff, so we're good at we're looking forward to bringing everything we can to the table in the run game.
Really excited to be here at the Verbo Citrus Bowl. I think our guys are really ready to play in this game. They've been excited. The energy in practice, both at home and here on site in Orlando, has been at an all-time high. We know it's going to be a great challenge, a really physical Iowa offense. They've got a couple of different ways that they can beat you, but it all starts up front. And so we know we have to play physical. We know we have to try to create some turnovers. Obviously, they've got an incredible defense. They've been able to create a lot of turnovers that, last year we were able to create, and we were sort of in the upper echelon of creating turnovers last year. This year, not so much. But we've got to be able to make those opportunities count in this game. And it's going to be a heck of a battle and one we're ready for. Really excited to watch Yusef do some damage on the field and try to put him into some positions to make some plays.
All right, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you for questions. Start up here on the left.
Hi, Coach. Iowa's offensive numbers aren't great, but in your mind, what do they do well that you need to look at controlling?
Yeah, you know what? I think stats at times can be deceiving. And when you look at how they're able to control the game, and it fits into what they do, it is their identity. And it all started, we talked about it in the opening statement, it starts up front for them. Their offensive line, especially interiorly, does a great job of creating initial push, creating some scenes in those run game, in their zone scheme. Oops, excuse me. And so, and then it sets up their play action game, and it sets up their boot game. And their boot game, the mirroring of both run and play action and boot looks almost identical. And so to fit that two-back run scheme, I got Yusef here from a safety standpoint, you've got to be really, really disciplined with your eyes. And when it looks the same, it gets to be hard. And they do a great job because of repetition. They do a great job of mirroring looks. They do a great job of self-scouting themselves. So their tendencies are minimal in that regard. So it's hard to pinpoint and attack certain things. Obviously, not having, Goodson, is a difference for them. But they have running backs that have, plenty of experience and have done some really good things. So I don't think anything really changes identity-wise for them in terms of how they're going to run the ball, how they're going to push it down the field. So I think that's really where they create. You sort of build your defense. Now it's a little bit more old school. And you got to get physical and you got to get nasty. Our defensive front's going to have to play, really well. Our linebackers are going to have to take on fullbacks and lead blockers. And it presents a completely different challenge than something we've really faced all season.
Yusef, you guys during that 3-game losing streak we're kind of reeling a little bit, particularly in the secondary. How did you all respond to that adversity to be able to recover and finish the season strong?
Well, we just went back and watched the film, see the things that we needed to work on, and just be real with ourselves. We didn't create any turnovers. I want to say in those 3 games, we didn't play well. We had bad eyes and things like that. But after those games, we put it behind us, and we just look forward to the next opportunity. And I feel like we played better on our last, I want to say, 3 games of the stretch at the end of the season.
Coach, your last answer got me curious. When's the last time you faced a team that was like Iowa, that's that old school mentality?
Probably inside the 5-yard line. It's and it's true. This day and age, I joked in a previous deal back home is that, for some of our younger players that haven't been around and have only seen spread offenses, especially in high school, they don't even know what a fullback is. And so but that, it creates 2-back run fits that create problems. And it stresses your rules. What you have to do is you have to treat that fullback, and our guys have to do a great job of understanding, hey, it's creating 2-by-2 formations or 3-by-1 formations, depending on which way he goes. But you have to identify flow early, and then you understand your run fit, where your support is. And that's where some of those creases have really come for them, is that there have been some unblocked players that could make a play, but if you push the ball the wrong way, if your help is outside but you send the ball inside, even though that there's an unblocked defender, the running back's walking in the end zone. So you have to be perfect. And so obviously we've been working a lot on that, but until you get the game speed of it, the true physicality of it, it's We'll have to make corrections on the sideline, just like every game. But I think our guys are ready. They understand that you challenge their pride, especially when it's a physical game. It's when it's one of those games where you call it a circus and there's motions and flies and ball going this way and that way, and it's just sort of, hey, play soft and let it play out in front of you and then you go play ball. This one is sort of challenging your pride. They're not hiding anything. They're coming downhill. They're going to put their pads on you and they're going to try to drive you off the football. And if they're gaining yards, it means that they're physically more dominant than you. And so it's a sense of pride for our front. It's going to be a sense of pride for our back end when they have to come and fill and they have to tackle these big backs coming downhill. And we have to try to impose our will and our physicality. And, it's something that we've been able to do, over the years. We've been able to do it this year at times, and we need to show up and do it again.
All the way back to the camera platform.
Yeah, Yusef back here. For you guys as a defense, do you sort of get a sense of like smelling blood in the water for an Iowa offense that has struggled this year and they're without their starting running back? Their quarterback situation is kind of on the fence a little bit. And two, with playing a physical team, how much do you look forward to that as a physical defensive back?
Well, any game, our next game is going. I look forward to it. But as far as Iowa, when I go back and I watch the film, I feel like they're a really good, disciplined offense. I feel like the last game they played versus Michigan, they really kind of shot themselves in the foot. I mean, there was opportunities that they could have put up a lot more points, but they, like I said, they shot themselves in the foot. And as far as this is going to be a physical game for us, and Coach said it's going to be a lot of pride. And for me, I feel like just getting off of blocks, making tackles for the whole defense is going to be real big for us.
Yusef, you were here a few years ago as a redshirt freshman. Now you're back, could be playing in your last game. Just what would it mean to start your career with a big win in the Citrus Bowl and then kind of to wrap it up with a 10-win season at the Citrus Bowl?
Oh, it would mean a lot, especially with this team, and just this might be in my last game. It's just going to be very emotional. You're never going to get this team back again. Everybody's going to go different places in different ways, so it's going to be very emotional for me.
Hey, Coach, Iowa has not announced a starting quarterback. How do you prepare for that? Do you think there's a difference between Petrus and Padilla, a big difference? I mean, how would you assess that situation?
You know what? I think from a scheme standpoint, I don't think it changes. I don't think it's as drastic a change as if it's a pure pocket passer versus, all right, this guy's a runner that they try to throw. I mean, I think their skill set is within the same ballpark. I think, Padilla probably runs a little bit better. But I think, decision making, I think Petrus is, he understands where to go with the football. Been really successful in the offense. So from that standpoint, it's not a big difference for us in that regard in terms of how we scheme. It's not going to be a different game plan. But you do have to be mindful of who's in and what that particular quarterback's strengths are.